All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m., February 15th, 2016. It is time to call the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Ms. Haynes, would you please take roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chavita, Mr. Mesa, Mr. Overfelt,
Here.
Mrs. Lozano,
Here.
Mr. Garabedian,
Here.
and myself.
Ms. Haynes, we have a quorum.
Yes, ma'am.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, let us please stand for opening ceremonies, beginning with a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we open our meeting today with some recognitions, beginning with the recognition of Miranda Martinez, Mr. Juan Nanez, or Mr. Josue Gonzalez. Oh, there he is, okay.
Good evening, Ms. Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Today, I would like to recognize Miranda Martinez for her outstanding accomplishment. Miranda Martinez received 8th in the choir, in the alto 2nd in the Texas All-State Women's Choir. She spent 2.5 day rehearsals at the TMEA convention this past weekend, February 10th through the 13th, performed at the culmination of the convention in San Antonio. I'd also like to have Mr. Gonzalez come forward.
Good evening. I would just like to share what Miranda just went through. We're here tonight to present you Miranda and her outstanding accomplishments. Miranda is the daughter of Adrian and Catherine Martinez and recently became Darrell High School's 25th All-Stater. She started this process along with 13,000 students all over Texas back in October of 2015. She endured 4 rounds of competitions, playing the top 5 in her voice part every single time. Last week, Miranda was able to submerge herself into what is, in my opinion, one of the best experiences any young musician can have. She was one of the top 600 choir students in the state to be able to participate in this prestigious event. During the Texas Music Educators Association convention, Miranda went through extensive rehearsals to prepare for her final All-State performance, which was this past Saturday. This is such an accomplishment not just for Miranda, but for our district, but mainly for our community. This accomplishment did put Del Rio back on the map. Miranda is not a stranger of hard work and dedication and is a great example for her peers. She now holds the title of All-State Choir Member, which has fueled her to come back next year as a senior and a 2-year All-Stater. I would like to congratulate Miranda, and we came and brought you the patches and the plaque that she received while at All-State.
Pictures.
Once again, congratulations. Congratulations to Miranda, and thank you to the school board for taking the time to recognize this outstanding student.
Thank you, Mr. Nanez. Do you have room for that big old thing? Yes.
It goes in the back. Thank you so much. Good job. Thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for all of your hard work, too. All right. Second recognition is Career and Technical Education Month recognition, Mr. Roger Gonzalez.
Good evening, Ms. Martinez Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. February is CTE month nationwide, and this year's theme is Opportunity for Career Success. The opportunities for students in CTE continues to increase with additional courses, industry-recognized certifications, projects, and coming House Bill 5 recognized endorsements. There are student opportunities to develop skills, be creative, and become college and career ready. In CTE, students also have the opportunity to compete at the district, state, national, and even world arena. To share their experiences and their own CTE opportunities are our very own CTE student ambassadors. Along with the student ambassadors, this evening is Delma Anguiano, our CTE coordinator. The CTE student ambassadors are a group of 18 outstanding students selected by their teachers to represent the CTE career clusters. As part of CTE month, the ambassadors are making every effort to spread awareness of the multiple career pathways by utilizing the slogan, I am CTE. Many students think CTE is limited only to trades and industries, but we are working on changing the perception so that everyone will know that CTE is so much more. From health science to law, to media tech, to engineering, the 13 career pathways offered in our school district are all important parts of CTE. Several ambassadors would like to share how CTE has impacted them. First, you will hear from Tori Trevino, one of our 2 chief ambassadors this school year.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of all the students who are a part of the CTE program, I would like to thank all of y'all for supporting us in everything that we do. I have never been a part of a program so amazing that gives so many opportunities to students, whether it be clubs, extracurricular activities, or job opportunities in the hospital and different places around the community. So I would like to thank you on behalf of everyone.
Next is Jacob Garza from the Educational Cluster.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of CTE, all of our staff, and our students, I would like to say thank you for all of your support and everything you do for our program. As a CTE student, as Tori said, I've been afforded so many opportunities to succeed. Among those many things, leadership positions in various student organizations. As a member of FCCLA, I held 3 offices, and I was able to represent Del Rio at the regional, state, and national level, winning first place at all 3. During these events, I was able to meet the coordinators and the lead professors of the university that I will be attending in the fall. CTE has given me so many opportunities to progress and move forward and prepare myself for my career. Again, thank you all for everything you do for our career cluster, our program.
Thank you, Jacob. And here to wrap things up, as far as our CTE ambassadors, is Brianna Levery, student ambassador for aircraft technology.
Good afternoon. My name is Brianna Levery. I am a senior in high school, and I am the CTE ambassador for the aircraft technology classes. I have been in this program for 4 years now, and although it was accidental, me becoming a student in this program, I have not regretted any minute of it. It has been an amazing journey for me. It has taken me from being a mechanic to a crew chief on a flight line, and even in the back of a cockpit of a T-38 engine during an engine run. T-38 aircraft. I have gained so much experience in this class, and I hope that I speak on behalf of all of the students in this program that I will carry this experience with me everywhere I go. And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you for allowing us to participate in all that we have. And I'd like to start this all over again by saying I am Brianna Levery. I am the ambassador of the aircraft technology classes, and I am CTE. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of all the students that make up the CTE program, and including our ambassadors. We thank you for the support. from the board. Thank you to the parents that actually have supported our CTE program as we continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, young lady. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you for doing so well. Thank you. Thank you, young man, for doing so well. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for doing so well. Okay?
Great job.
Continue to grow. Okay? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Great job.
Thanks to Jacob, Tori, and Brianna for their words. Definitely, I know it's something that we, as the board, really do support and appreciate all of your hard work. Keep up the good work. It's for Facebook. Maria. Okay, next is the recognition of the Del Rio High School Soccer All-State Academic Recipients, Mr. Rick Smith.
President Lozano, school board members, Dr. Rios, before I introduce these two programs in our athletic department, let me thank you all for all you do for our athletic program. It's truly appreciated. We have two programs here that are two of our premier programs. They're all outstanding, but I'm going to let the two head coaches hand out certificates, I think, for the all-state academic teams. Coach Ernesto Martinez.
Good evening, Mrs. Lozano, Dr. Rios, members of the school board. It is indeed an honor for me to be here before you tonight. And with me, I brought 4 of my 5 all-academic recipients. They are members of the Queens Soccer Program. In order to qualify for this prestigious award, these young ladies must be in good standing, not only at school, but within the community. And I'm sure you've seen them at one time or another helping out throughout the community. They must be ranked in the top 10% of their graduating class, which we do have that in these young ladies, or they must have a 90 or above in order to receive this award, and they have met all of the criteria. So with that set in mind, TASCO has recognized these young ladies to be all academic state for this coming year. I'd like to introduce, first of all, Ms. Analí Beltrán, who has an average of 90.22. Y'all stand up there. Next, I have Dalila Morales, who is unable to be with us. She had a doctor's appointment in San Antonio, so she didn't make it back in time. Next, I have Adriana Martinez with a 91.90 average. Next, I have Eliza Cervantes with a 92.91 average. And last but not least, we have Chelsea Hopkins with a 95.55 average. Let me just say that these young ladies have worked extremely hard over their high school career. They're 4 seniors that I'm going to hate to lose at the end of the soccer season. But TASCO has recognized them not only for their accomplishments on the field, but as well as at the high school, and they have represented our community well wherever we have been the last 4 years together. Thank you.
Next up, we have our head football coach, Coach McCray. He's going to do our all-state player selections as well as our all-state academic selections. Coach Frenchy McCray.
Good evening, everyone. Again, it is an honor to be before you. I'm glad I'm kind of making this a habit, so we're going to try to continue this for the years to come. But I'm very excited about this group of young men. As I said before, it's been a privilege and honor and to have coached these young men and to influence their lives. And we handed out a lot of awards during our banquet, so I don't have those awards with us. But I want to recognize our academic all-state. In order to receive this, you have to be in good standing with your school. You also have to carry a 94 average and play, obviously, on the varsity team. Today, we have with us 4 of the 7. We have Walt Ashley, who's not here. We have Marcus Braswell, Miguel Chides, Alfredo Delgado is not here with us. Matthew Guerra is not here with us. Omar Valdez and Armando Veliz.
Great job, boy.
This is our academic all-state team. Along with academics, we have some recognition of some players who earned all-state awards. We have the first, our Padilla All-State Award. We have Gaston Flores, who is the only junior that is with us today. We have Marcus Braswell and Felipe Garza. The next young men, along with these that are standing here, is the Texas Sports Writers Association All-State Selection. We have Marcus Braswell, Cesar Escajeda, Felipe Garza, Gaston Flores, and Steven Salinas. These young men have done an exceptional job on and off the field, and as I said before, it's a privilege to have coached these young men. All of these young men are going on. Marcus has signed an athletic scholarship with West Texas A&M University, so he'll continue along with some of the other guys who were still working on some scholarship stuff with them. But the only junior that is coming back to us is Gaston Flores, and we're glad to have him back, but we're surely going to miss these guys. Thank you for your time.
Congratulations. 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 Great job, sir. Good job, sir. Thank you. Congratulations. Good job, sir. Good job, sir. Congratulations. Good job. It depends how we live. Coach, great job.
Well, congratulations to all of our fine athletes for their work on and off the field. Next item, citizens to be heard. The Board of Trustees encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak either as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so at this time. Betty, do we have anybody signed up? All right, great. Okay, because we have someone in our audience that is scheduled to present. What number is it? 13. And they're from San Antonio, and we'd like to give them an opportunity to present now so that they can get home early. If it so pleases the board, that we move 13A up. Would that be okay with everyone? I'm fine with it. All right. So we're moving to business and finance. Consideration to approve an order authorizing the issuance of San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2016, entering into an escrow agreement, a bond purchase agreement, and a paying agent registrar agreement, delegating to certain district administrative staff and officials the authority to approve all final terms of the bonds and other matters related thereto. Presentation by Mr. David Gonzalez and Daniel Martinez.
Correct.
There you go.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, administration. For the record, my name is David Gonzalez, and I work with Estrada Hinojosa, who are the financial advisors for the district. Ms. Valdez is passing out a PowerPoint presentation that identifies a savings opportunity where the district can save on some of the existing debt that the school district has. And I'm going to go ahead and start going through the slides. And if the board has any questions at any time, just please stop me and I'll answer any questions. But essentially, this is very similar to what we did last year when we did the refinancing in 2015. This is essentially the same thing with a different series of bonds. So if you jump over to slide number 1, here we have a chart, a graph that essentially it tells you, if you look on the far bottom right-hand side, you notice that interest rates are still in a very low environment right now, and for that reason is why we're able to refinance. This is exactly the same thing as refinancing a mortgage. Interest rates are still in a very low environment, and the district issued bonds back in 2006, 2007, 2008, and a lot of the rates that the district locked in those years, because of the times that we were living in and the interest rate environment that we were living in, was 5%, 6%. Currently, where we are right now, we're able to lock in rates anywhere from 2% to 3.5%. So if you notice here, interest rates are still very low. If you turn over to the next page, page number 2, here we have a refunding summary. So the bonds that we're looking at here that we've identified are the Series 2008 bonds. So we're looking to refinancing $8,935,000. This will generate currently a net present value savings to the district of $929,185, a percentage savings of 10.399%, which is significantly pretty high. Typically, anything north of 3%, we always recommend move forward. Currently, we're looking at 10.399%. Now, we did run the analysis on this in December of 2015, and at that time, we were looking at about $860,000. So just in about 2.5 months, we've seen a pretty significant increase just with the interest rates that were the market that we're living in. If you look at the average annual savings to the district, you're looking at $62,608. That's just in INS savings. The true interest cost today, we're into the market today, we're looking at 2.569% interest rate. If you jump over to the next page, this is slide number 3. The title, Eligible Bonds to be Refunded. If you look at the column, third column from the left, existing coupons, this is currently the interest rates that the district is paying on these bonds. So you start at the very top, 4%, 4%, and you keep going down all the way down to 5%. Currently, if the district were to move forward in refinancing these bonds, you could lock in the rates. If you jump over to the second column from the right, where we have current rates, those are the rates available now to lock in. So instead of paying 4%, 5% for these maturities, you're looking at 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, etc., all the way down to the very bottom of 2.73%. That's where the district is able to capture those lower interest rates and thus reduce the payments on your interest payments on the bonds. If there's no questions there, I'm going to jump over to the next slide. On the next page, here we have the savings summary. If you look at the second column from the left, we have the prior debt service. This is essentially right now basically what the district is paying on these bonds. So prior debt service is your current obligation. If the district decides to move forward, you would lock in the third column, the refunding debt service, and that's where you would capture your savings. You have a savings of $1,126,947, and the present value savings, what the present value means is what a dollar accounts for today. So you're looking at a present value savings of $929,185. If you jump over to the next page, here we have the proposed financing team. We have the issuer, San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated ISD, your financial advisors, your bond counsel, underwriters, William Blair, RBC Capital Markets, Underwriters Council, Bracewell and Giuliani, rating agency, Standard & Poor's and Moody's. And I'd also like to note, if you all remember last year, Standard & Poor's upgraded the district from an A to an A+. And they basically did that because they looked at the audits, they looked at the budgets, and they felt that there had been so much consistency with respect to audits and budgets year over year, and the property values and everything else that was happening with the businesses and the community, student enrollment, et cetera, and they actually upgraded the district, which doesn't happen very often. There's a lot of other districts out there that it takes them years and years, and I mean more than 5, 6, 7 years to receive an upgrade. So congratulations, because that upgrade that they gave you last year sticks with you forever. If you look on the next one, that's bond insurance. We have a PSF TEA. TEA will be providing the bond insurance instead of having to go into the market and purchase private bond insurance. TEA offers a program. Your paying agent and your escrow agent, Bank of Texas, and your verification agent is the Arbitrage Group. If you turn over to the next page, here we have a timetable of events. If you look at the first date, here we are today. Should the board decide to move forward, the board is essentially all you're doing is approving a parameters order that's basically saying that we can go ahead and move forward, and if certain parameters are met, then we can actually move forward and enter the market. If those parameters are not met, then we will not move forward and execute this financing. And those specific parameters, I'll let Mr. Martinez, if there's any specific detailed questions about those parameters, but I'll give you here the three main parameters is an amount not to exceed $8,935,000, interest rate, true interest costs no higher than 4%, and a present value savings of no less than 6%, or a total of $540,000 in savings. Currently, based on where rates are, we're pretty much in a good spot to be able to save at least $1 million for the district on interest payments. So these parameters, I think we won't have any problem meeting them. So if you look at February 15th, here we are. Should the board decide to move forward, we'll be setting those parameters. And if you go down to April the 4th, once we prepare all the documents with the lawyers, have our meetings with the rating agencies, we hope to enter the market April the 4th, 2016. We'll price the bonds. At that time, we'll lock in rates, and then we can close on May 5th, 2016. So this is what I have. If there's any questions whatsoever, I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have about this. But again, this is a savings opportunity. The district, should the district decide to move forward, you're not adding any more debt to the district. You're not extending your debt. All you're doing is reducing the interest payments that you have, and it's a savings opportunity for the district and the taxpayers. That's essentially what we're trying to do here.
Any questions? Mr. Chavita.
I just want to thank you for looking after our district, and we appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chavita. Appreciate it, sir.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Remind me again, are there any fees associated with your company doing this? I mean,
yes, sir. There are fees. If you look at the financing team, there's fees associated to bring this to market. So it's financial advisor, bond counsel, underwriters counsel, rating agency, bond insurance.
So the savings amount takes into consideration the fees, or no?
The savings that we're showing here is net of the fees. So the fees have already been accounted for. Yes, sir.
Any reason why anyone wouldn't want to have the savings?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've never seen where there's $1 million of savings and yeah. So
Okay.
It's just a good opportunity. And again, we'll continue to monitor the markets as we move forward, and hopefully we can even save more than $1 million for the district.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Are you ready for the recommendation? Did you have any questions about the parameters?
Good evening, Madam President. Dan Martinez with Winstead. For the record, members of the board, Dan Martinez with Winstead Bond Council. We have the order before you. As David mentioned, he covered the parameters, gives the district staff and some members of the board the authority to move forward with the transaction as we monitor the market. And we're ready to go. The authority given today gives us that authority to finalize the terms of the bonds so long as we meet those parameters as he discussed.
I don't believe we have any questions. Thank you to the both of you. Hopefully you'll get home early.
Yes, and thank you for allowing us to move up the agenda. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome, David.
Okay, the
Yes, ma'am.
recommendation. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the order authorizing the issuance of San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bond, Series 2016, entering into an escrow agreement, a bond purchase agreement, and a paying agent registrar agreement, delegating to certain district administrative staff and officials the authority to approve all final terms of the bonds and other matters related thereto.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Chavita?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garabedian. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Be safe.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
at this time, I'd like to request, because of some of the items that are in, specifically in closed session, if it's fine with the rest of the board to go at this time into closed session and take care of everything in there, and then come out and proceed with the rest of the meeting.
So Mr. Overfeld has made a recommendation that we go into closed session now.
I'd concur with Mr. Overfeld because of the items that are there. You know, it's early, it's clear. My only question, and this is purely spontaneous, Mr. Mesa is not coming, I assume?
I believe he communicated with Dr. Rios that he was not going to be able to make it. Yes, sir. At all, right?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause that's a good point, because if
Yeah,
you
that
were
would
en
be my
route,
only
we wait.
hesitation, feeling the same as Mr. Overfeld, but if he's indicated that he's not going to make it for personal reasons, I understand.
Mr. Chavita, are you okay with that, sir?
I'm not, I don't see any reason we're doing it, to be honest with you. I think we should follow just procedures and go on. I mean, but that's just my feeling.
Would you be
Because I don't
opposed to
see
going
any
into
reason
closed
why
session?
we should go on and move it up.
I'm okay with moving it up. So, do you want to take a vote?
Madam President, this time, I move to move 16 closed session in its entirety up to right now.
Okay, we've had a motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? 4, opposed? Mr. Chavita, motion does carry. It is still February 15th. It is now, sometimes it's not at this time, 6:40. The Board of Trustees will now recess this open session and convene in a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E, and we're able to do that under Sections 551.071, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.084. Let me make a correction. That's 551.071 through 551.074. Specifically, pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. Number 1, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, reassignments. Number 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include, but not limited to, the following justifications: service credit, master's degree, stipends. Number 3, discussion of administrator and professional contracts. Number 4, the formative evaluation of the superintendent. And B, pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 and 551.074, consultation with attorney and appointment of officials. Number 1, discussion of consideration to approve the order of election for a special election to be held on May 7th, 2016. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. We are now in closed session. Thank you. All right, it is still February 15th, now at 9:30 p.m. The Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. Now that we're reconvened, the board may vote upon and/or take action as to any or all of the items considered under closed session. Under item A, consideration to approve the order of election for a special election to be held on May 7th, 2016. This relates to the special election to fill the Place 1 vacancy that was vacated by Dr. Fernando Keys. Do we have a motion? What was the motion?
Motion to order motion to approve the order of election for a special election to be held May 7th for Place 1.
I second the motion.
All right, we've had a motion and a second. Any discussion? No?
Not anymore.
All in favor? 4, opposed? 1. Motion does carry. B, consideration to approve the personnel report to include new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Dr. McNamara.
Good evening, President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. At this time, the administration recommends Ms. Gabriela Chavarria for academic support specialist at Del Rio Middle School for your consideration this evening.
Okay, we have heard the recommendation.
So moved.
Dr. Overfelt. Second by myself. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Consideration to approve the salary adjustments to include the following justifications: service credit, master's degree, and stipends.
President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. It is the recommendation of the administration that the salary adjustments be approved as presented in closed executive session this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Overfelt, second by Ms. Haynes. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration to approve administrator and professional contracts. Again, Dr. McNamara.
President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. It is the recommendation of the administration that the administrator and professional contracts be approved as presented this evening in closed executive session.
We have heard the recommendation. Motion by Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. And this is just a note, the Board of Trustees did conduct the superintendent's formative evaluation in closed session, and we will conduct the summative evaluation in June. And we'll go back to where we left off, which was number 8, reports, beginning with the attendance and discipline report, the third 6 weeks. Dr. Jorge Garza and Ida Gomez.
Yes, ma'am. Like always, I include the report with the board update. I recognize that because of technical difficulties, I did send the board update later than I usually would. At this time, Dr. Garza can make the presentation, or if y'all have any questions on it, it's the wishes of the board.
Any questions? Concerns? Okay. We'll move on. To B, SchoolNet update. Dr. Sandra Zuniga Mendoza and Ms. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, Mrs. Martinez Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. In December, we had a SchoolNet representative who came and gave a presentation on the management system, the instructional management system program. And at that time, she had met with teachers both at the middle school and at the high school, and it included all secondary from 6th to 12th grade. We had about 153 teachers who actually attended the presentation. After that presentation, it was recommended by a board member that we try and reach more teachers and show them the program before we would bring it to the board. So that's where we're at today. Just to give you a quick refresher, the SchoolNet platform, it does help educators innovate the way that school districts gather and use data to support and improve teaching and learning. This award-winning web-based solution combines assessment, reporting, and instructional management tools, all in one single user-friendly platform, as described below. The next generation assessments to deepen thinking and learning. The test administration system supports the creation, management, administration, monitoring, and data collection of large-scale, quality, higher-order thinking, standards-aligned district, administrator, or classroom assessments to meet a variety of benchmarking and formative assessment goals. Furthermore, it provides real-time reporting to strengthen response to intervention. The reporting tools consolidate assessment results with data pulled from our student information system, including demographics, attendance, course marks, discipline, and longitudinal assessment data. And finally, the powerful curriculum and instructional tools. The assessment and reporting tools are complemented by a fully integrated materials bank for storing, searching, and editing lesson plans and curricular materials, including an elegant and powerful online lesson plan submission and review process. SchoolNet also supports district-wide curriculum management with tools for creating and scheduling curriculum and district-wide pacing guides. Where we were and where we are. In 2013-14, it started with the assessments. The star of the year at a glance, the TEKS verification, the ELPS, the instructional focus document, and the TEKS resource system were the different components that were being used. In 2014-15, we added the roadmaps, support for all learners, all on SharePoint. In 2015-16, we created the team sites for instructional resources, and that's when the conversation began to look for the consideration of an instructional management system to support teachers. It was during that time that we came across Northeast ISD, and we have a 2-minute video to show you. I'm sorry, Northside ISD. And you're going to see the superintendent speaking on the results and how SchoolNet has helped their schools.
Westside ISD is the fourth largest school district in Texas and actually about the 30th largest school district in the nation. When I came to the district, it was a very good district, and they were using data, but it was more at the principal level. We at that time were also beginning to do benchmark testing, and so much data was coming out there that we had to have a way to really use that data, and that principals could use it to make decisions about kids, and teachers could use it to make decisions about kids.
When I first began teaching, everything was paper and pencil. You needed to go to a certain place to get the attendance. You needed to go to a certain individual to get the information for the grades, and you needed to go to a different individual as far as their specific special education needs.
We adopted SchoolNet because it fit our needs. We wanted them to provide us with an open container, if you will, where we could put in our curriculum, our assessments, and they have been able to do that.
SchoolNet is really aimed at providing very, very detailed understanding of student learning and student mastery so that a teacher can really target his or her efforts towards those students that need the most help, but also really targeting the specific skills that those students most need to focus on.
What SchoolNet allows us to do is to have that data right at the teacher's fingertips, quickly, easily accessible, and up to date.
It provides me with their academic record based on prior attendance, prior grades, benchmark testing, state standardized testing. I'm able to design lessons. I'm able to implement those lessons and evaluate their effectiveness.
I just go to the computer, I pull up that student's information, I have their grades, I have their attendance. I mean, it is just invaluable.
All of us at SchoolNet are extremely excited to be part of the Pearson family. The opportunity now to integrate with all of the incredible products and services that Pearson has under one roof really allows us to achieve our mission in a way I don't think we ever would have been able to otherwise.
Having a curriculum management system that can push that data down to the teachers has helped us achieve what we've achieved academically. We tested over 60,000 students, and when 90% of those kids are passing the test in reading, writing, and social studies, and over 80% of them are passing it in math and science, let me tell you, you're doing pretty good.
I think being surrounded by people who are passionate about education, who are deeply knowledgeable about this marketplace, who are committed to improving education around the world is extremely exciting for all of us and is going to lead to innovation and quality of innovation that we were not able to generate on our own.
So you'll see here another timeline for the SchoolNet demonstrations. In April of 2015, the district leadership had a virtual showing of the product. The CNI team had a virtual showing on July 14th. We did have December 1st, we did have 153 teachers go through the face-to-face with a consultant that came from California. 24 were in elementary, and we had another 143 from secondary. However, taking the recommendation from the board, on February 2nd, we were able to do a district-wide demonstration. It was a virtual demonstration. All the campuses were invited at the same time to watch this. It's the first time that we'd actually had that many campuses at one time logged on at the same time. Leslie from SchoolNet was able to do the presentation, and there was a question and answer series, and there was also the ability for people to type in their questions as she was presenting, and a lot of those questions got answered during the presentation. And you can see there that we had 368 in attendance at that time. Basically, I was trying to figure how can I provide the dashboard information in a concise manner, and I think the simplest way to address it or to explain it is to show that it simply is a one-screen dashboard. When a teacher logs on, or anybody logs on, it's going to have three different components: the school and district data component, the classroom component, and the assessment component. Under the school and district, anybody can look at a student profile, a student overview, their tests, enrollment and academic records, programs, learning plans and teacher's notes, benchmark tests, classroom tests, and an IEP. And that's all on a drop-down menu. So if you can just imagine, your car and your little dashboard and three different sections. So when you log on that one section, you're going to see all those drop-downs. All of those, again, are at a click. Very interesting to SchoolNet, which is something that we hadn't seen, was the ability to search by student name, part of a name, or an ID number, and be able to get the entire database, and then that helps you find what it is you're looking for. Under the classroom, your drop-down menu is going to include student performance, student groups, student workshop, lesson plans. Those can be attached. Also, a very unique rating system that's attached to the lesson plans, instructional materials, and assignments. In SchoolNet, you have the ability to hover over any TEAC. So if you're looking at a particular standard, you can hover over it, and instead of a teacher having to go find it on their IFD or the specificity someplace else, it actually will bring it up for it right on the screen. So they'll hover, and just like you would anything else, a definition, or I should say something more specific comes up. The student workshop is very unique also, because if a teacher decides that after seeing assessments that a student needs certain work, she can actually assign work to that student if he's been absent for a while, if maybe they were gone, whatever the case may be, they can actually assign lessons to that student under that field. Then, of course, you have the assessment component. Teachers are able to co-author lesson plans. They're able to create tests with the express test. They can edit a test. They can remove items. The test can be made multiple choice, true and false, gridables. A teacher basically says, I have a TEAC, I have 4.13a, and I want to create a formative. I want a 6-question multiple choice test with 4 different answer choices. I have 30 students. I want 4 different versions of it. So at a click of a button, it's going to create that test. He or she can go in and say, question number 6 doesn't look right. They can remove it, delete it, change it. Again, we have the capability to do that today, but it's going to be a cut and paste. It's nothing to that level. You can track your assessments. Another unique feature is to search. You can find by test, by an item, by a particular passage, by a rubric. So if a teacher knows that, at one point in time there was a lesson on a particular song, but they can't remember what 6 weeks it was in, they can just do a search using that button. You have TEAC standards, related materials at a click. Again, going back to a student does poorly, I need to have some remediation, the tutor's coming. You can actually click on that TEAC standard, and it's going to provide you everything that's in the data bank that's available for that particular TEAC. You can look at district and local tests, of course your classroom tests, your standardized tests, and any upcoming tests can actually be scheduled. So that's another thing that teachers can see. There's tests that are in progress, and then there's tests that are upcoming. A unique feature is that all the answer documents, if a teacher goes in and creates a test, they can also at a click of a button say, I need my Scantrons for it. So white paper Scantrons can be generated for all 8 of my periods or 6 of my periods, however many classes I have, and the white paper answer documents are actually printed for me by period. Those also have the ability to be graded using the document cameras that we already have in place, or of course some campuses have scanners, and we haven't really looked too deep into that area, but the document cameras are available. All of this would be time saving for teachers. One of the biggest components that we do not have now that we know that we need is something called TestNav. The TestNav is an online system that actually allows students to go and practice taking their test, or actually take their test and use the accommodations that they're allowed to use. For instance, highlighters, magnifiers, text-to-speech. After the student uses those accommodations to complete their test, they can also submit it online for the teacher to grade it. This chart was provided to you in your packets last week, and it does show the number of teachers from each campus, and then we did a quick survey, an exit ticket with 5 questions, and we did ask teachers for some instant data and some comments. The first question asked, I believe that this would make it easier to access curriculum available for my grade level and content area. And as you can see, 86% of those that responded, there were about 318 surveys submitted. 86% did agree. I believe in having this accessible would help me plan TEKS-based instructional lessons and activities to meet the needs of all my students. 86% agreed. I believe that SchoolNet provides instant data about student progress that would help me plan appropriate interventions. 87% agreed. I believe that SchoolNet's ability to create an express test would help me assess student understanding. 84% agreed. And I believe that SchoolNet should be considered as a tool to support the teaching and learning process in our school district. 81% agreed. That is the presentation that we put together. Dr. Mendoza and I are here to answer any questions. It is listed later in the packet as an agenda item for consideration for approval.
Mr. Overfeld has questions.
Yes, sir.
On the answer documents, and you answered one of the questions I was going to ask about, are we going to have to buy separate documents, but since we can use just plain white paper, that's a good thing. And you said that we can use the document cameras that are there. Do we, and maybe this is also a question for Les there, do all the classrooms have the document cameras? Because the scanner I know is an old technology that we were phasing out even when I was with the school district.
Sir.
There, so does everyone have a document camera in every room where this is going to be used?
Okay, there comes Les.
To be fair to that question, I don't have that answer, but I will get it for you.
Okay.
Majority of the classrooms, to my understanding, do have the document cameras, but I don't want to say it's 100% yet. So
Okay.
I can get that answer.
If it gets approved and we're gonna use it for that amount of money, we don't want any holdup where somebody can't use it or anything like that, so, okay.
Understandable. Yes.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir.
And one other one, I know in the video they talked about attendance.
Yes, sir.
Or about being able to take attendance through the system there, but we've already got a system in place, right, where we're going and doing it, so we're not dumping, are we dumping gradebook to go to this, or whatever it's called right now?
Gradebook actually sits on top of on top of SchoolNet, and Dr. Mendoza can answer that.
Okay.
A lot better than me.
So that's our student information system, Skyward is, and so the SchoolNet system does sit on top of that, and it does pull that data so that the teacher has relevant data pulled from Skyward about the students that are assigned to him or her.
So they'll still use the Skyward or whatever system it is that's in the classroom for attendance, and then through SchoolNet, there we go, SchoolNet will be able to pull the data up.
They would still be able to interact with the SchoolNet system, and it would sync.
Talks back and forth. Okay. So will they use SchoolNet for attendance or Skyward for attendance?
The districts that we've talked to can use either, but most opt to just use SchoolNet as a one place instead of going to the different systems, to be able to just use that one tool.
Okay,
So
we'll transfer over and beginning in August to just using this straight out for everything?
I think that what we're initially going to do for sure is the curriculum documents, the assessment, and everything that has to do with instruction, and we will slowly transition everything else to make sure it's smooth, because we want to make sure that items that we report to the state are working smoothly. So I don't want to commit to transferring over to it immediately in August, but that's certainly a long-term goal.
Okay. And then, I know I said the other one was the last one, but will, we talked about lesson plans and all that there. Are we going to use it in conjunction with the whole idea of planning protocol? It'll all be blended together and everyone can upload and all that there?
Yes.
Yes, sir, and they have the ability to share their lesson plans, to keep them for themselves, to make them open to just a particular group, but definitely yes.
Will there be, and I think one of us raised it the last time we had the initial presentation, substitutes. Will they be able to access a very limited version of this, like to handle attendance and stuff like that, or are we gonna kind of just keep that out of it for right now?
The substitutes will not have access to SchoolNet. What will happen is, because the teachers will be able to share lessons and documents, there will be plenty of people who can provide the lesson plan for the substitute off of the system.
Thank you all.
Any other?
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Garabedian.
what was the difference between the first presentation in December that was given to the teachers and the most recent one a couple weeks ago? What was different about the presentation?
I attended the 9 in December, and then the virtual one here. I don't remember there being a difference. It was the same presentation, except that one she did in person with the actual video there in front of her.
So about the same amount of teachers participated in both?
We had 153 the first time, all secondary for the most part. This time we had 358 or so additional. So we've had about over 540 or so.
And during those two presentations, how many teachers actually had hands-on practice with the program, where they actually pulled those things up themselves on a computer?
Nobody, sir. It wasn't done in a lab setting.
So no teacher out of those 500 actually used, what is this thing called again?
SchoolNet.
So none of them actually used SchoolNet.
No, sir.
They just simply watched it in the second presentation, watched it via.
Right. She
web or
maneuvered
something.
it. She showed them as the questions came up. She maneuvered through the different components on the dashboard.
Right.
And showed
Sales
them.
lady did.
Yes.
So no teacher actually used SchoolNet?
No, sir.
Okay. In neither time, neither,
No, sir.
the 500 saw it.
That's correct.
Thanks.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Just reading through some of the comments from, I guess, the teachers who attended one of the sessions, whether the webinar or the first one in December.
Yes.
Several of them mentioned that the program sounded really good, but they question having sufficient training.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we've heard that in the past in other programs that are new. We don't train our people, and of course, the more we can train them, then that actually ends up being better for everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we move forward with that, what would the training look like?
That was actually a question that we did address with her, because we heard the same concerns, not just about this program, but all trainings. We, if you look at the contract, it is a little bit heavier the first year. There are 7 days of training included in our first year. We have a full-time project-based manager assigned to us during that first year. And then webinars, phone conferences, those types of things, she said we would just schedule in.
So our goal is to have everybody trained between April and August on SchoolNet, where they actually get behind a computer. And that's why we wanted to have this presented to the board and approved as soon as possible, so that we could have our personnel start loading documents that we have already available so that when the teachers come to training, hopefully by April, late April, and they sit behind the system, they can play with real documents versus what a module would look like, a generic module. But our goal is to make sure that every teacher gets behind the computer and has real-life training starting in April, when they can schedule themselves in, and then obviously in August, everybody else that hasn't come in would get that intensive training right before school starts. But our hope is to catch as many people between April and the middle of the summer.
So would the teachers be expected to receive training in the summer?
Yes. Well, let's just say it will be offered to them, and they will be encouraged, as they have in the past, whether it was with our writing program or other programs.
Okay. And then another couple comments that were made, actually several comments, about the documents that are to be uploaded. Are they going to be required to also create those?
No, ma'am.
Everything is already created for them?
Everything that we have currently in all of our sites can be uploaded. Everything from our team sites can be uploaded into SchoolNet. Everything from Office 365 that we have can be uploaded. Any documents that come from Pearson can be uploaded. Any third-party documents that are approved can be uploaded. So if there's documents that go with one of our books, anything of that nature, those documents can be approved to be uploaded.
What the teachers will be creating, though, if you recall, a few months ago, I mentioned that the Education Foundation was going to be providing stipends for teachers that created exemplar lessons. So we would encourage teachers to create those exemplar lessons, which they, thanks to the foundation, they would be compensated for very nicely. So those documents they would create, as well as any other mini lessons that they may create that they can share with one another.
But will they be uploaded for them? Like everything that's already developed, it'll automatically be rolled and uploaded for them?
That is correct.
Okay, that is great. And then a couple of comments were made regarding the similarities with overlap with DMAC.
Yes.
So will DMAC go away?
Yes. Our goal is for everything in DMAC that holds our historical data to be uploaded into SchoolNet. That would be like a one-time.
Like a dump.
Yes. Once that's there, we would continue building our SchoolNet product.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Chavarria? Mr. Chavarria.
I noticed that SchoolNet will provide a dedicated project manager. What's going to be their purpose?
When I spoke to her, she said that this person would be at our beck and call. Whatever it is that we would need, they're like our middleman, but I'm not sure if Dr. Mendoza had more conversations with
And the
Ms.
reason I'm
Wilson.
asking this is because I noticed too that the teacher will be able to create and save lesson plans, et cetera.
Yes.
And then that they'll be able to look over some of the material through a bank of district-approved material. Who would be approving those material? Would we, since the teachers are the ones that are teaching, and they're right there where they're, where it's working or not, will you be using or utilizing these teachers to help out with the approved material?
They can definitely, we definitely want to continue to empower the teachers through the processes that have been set up, like curriculum review and things like that. But the majority of that legwork will not fall on them. To answer your first question, for every partnership that we've started, whether it's Blackboard, Atomic Learning, there's usually a project manager assigned, and their job is to meet with me or one of us regularly to make sure that things are being done to really maximize the investment, maximize the use, really truly supporting teaching and learning. And so that's what they mean when they say they'll have somebody that's going to be assigned to Del Rio to help work with us in getting rid of all the kinks that may come up as we implement. As far as the materials, I will say that right now, anytime we have had an approval to adopt a textbook, I know it was mentioned briefly a while ago. So for example, if we go with McGraw-Hill for a third grade science, they will send forward textbooks, and traditionally we, are ready to receive those and get working on those. We also use some of their ancillary materials to run off some workbooks and things for kids. But it always comes with a digital pack, and we've seen that happen more and more in the last 10 years. These publishers have really started building what they're offering digitally. We haven't found a great way to master that, and so sometimes it comes as a result of a teacher saying, I really need, an online resource. I really need this video that says that it's in my kit. It says in my teacher book that it's there. So they currently will call us, and we will track it down for them, and we'll send it to them, or we'll go over there, or we'll work with technology to get it put in a place where they can access. With SchoolNet, we will be able to take all those different partnerships in McGraw-Hill, 3rd grade, 5th grade, math, all the different things that we have, be able to input the codes so that on the teacher end, it's already there. It's almost like a curtain, and they'll be able to do a search for 3rd grade, area and perimeter search. What do you have? And it'll search the database on things that we have already licensed. And so that's kind of what that will look like.
That's great.
Madam Chairman, can we go back to the presentation schedule again? I guess it was the first page. Okay, so I guess early last year, April, there was a district leadership presentation. In July, there was a CNI presentation. And then the ones that you just mentioned were the teachers, right? Those two, right?
February,
Okay. So they're all virtual demonstrations? No?
The December one was face-to-face.
Was face-to-face?
She came to present.
Okay. So how many people, out of all of those from our district, have actually used SchoolNet, actually sat down and pulled up these things?
None that I'm aware of, Mr.
Nobody.
Garabedian.
Okay. So you're asking us to spend $400,000 on something that no one's actually used, actually test-driven?
I have that answer. We don't have SchoolNet where our documents are uploaded, our curriculum documents, or even our data. So, no, our teachers haven't. But what we have done is visit with teachers in the school district. Dr. Mendoza has some contacts. I have some contacts for teachers that have actually used it that don't work for Pearson and wouldn't speak on their behalf, but where we've been able to verify that what is presented can actually be implemented successfully. So even though nobody has used it because we don't have, it doesn't exist for us, we have had good conversations with people that we trust that have verified what Pearson has presented to us.
But no one in this district's actually tried the program? No.
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
I will say, Mr. Gerberding, that I did ask that question following the district-wide webinar, and she didn't have anything that we could use right then, but she said she could work on it, and she did, in fact, just email me Friday afternoon with an administrator login and a teacher one. She did advise us to use a teacher forum because it doesn't have that many licenses to test it one at a time, so I couldn't distribute it district-wide, but we just got that information to be able to log into a dummy site.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Facilities and Construction Report. Mr. Israel Carrera.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board. I have a presentation on construction update. First one we have up here is the Del Rio High School softball dugouts. Came out really nice. Our maintenance department, the welders, the painters, the carpenters, the electricians, and also the fence gentleman did all this work. The benches here that they wanted at the softball field is the first one where the students sit about 16 to 17 inches off the ground, and then on the very top where the kids could sit on the top is about 32 to 34 inches above the ground. And that was something that they really wanted. And they stained the pine wood. That's what the students wanted, and Coach Rodriguez said he's really proud of the job that they did. The Del Rio Annex 3 security office renovation is complete. The counters, again, our maintenance crew did all the work. They did all the tile. They laid the carpet squares. The carpenters built the countertops. The painters painted the cabinets white. And, of course, that's the chief's office there on the top right-hand corner. The Del Rio High School softball bleachers, we've completed all the concrete work. All we're lacking is by next month we would have the bleachers in once we get all the bids in. The Del Rio Blended Academy is under construction. Up on the upper left-hand corner, those are the labs that will be going in the Blended Academy. They started framing the outside. Of course, on the top-hand right, they've brought in the sheetrock, and then on the lower left is they've gutted out all the rooms. Career Technical Education Center is under construction. They're moving pretty well. On the far left is the front of the building. The top middle is the center of the building. Where you see the pose on the right that goes all the way straight down, that'll be the hallway, and then to the left will be that's the robotics classrooms, and then on the right will be other classrooms to study. Then on the far top right-hand corner is the robotics, the back side of the robotics classroom. The bottom left is the auto mechanics area, and then the middle is the side of the mechanic area, and that to the right bottom is the driveway that goes up into the welding shop. Student Activity Center, moving at a better pace now. They've done all the tape and bedding upstairs just about. I think they'll be painting here pretty soon. The top left-hand corner is Dr. McNamara's area. They're starting to hang sheetrock. The middle top is one of the upstairs restrooms. Then the top right-hand are the offices across from Dr. McNamara's offices. And then the top or the bottom left and right are the upper deck hallways. And then the middle is the stage. They just poured the concrete, I think it was Thursday on there, and they'll be laying the floor and painting in that area. They created or built the doorway into the dressing rooms there on the left-hand corner. And that is update. I just want to say that I think our maintenance guys have done a really great job. I mean, the painters, the welders, they've done an excellent job. They had a deadline to finish those dugouts and the bleachers, and they made it with 2 days to spare, so I was really proud of them.
I hope you gave them 2 days off.
No. But this is all with funds that y'all approved last year, and I know that the coaches and everybody appreciate what y'all have done.
Thank you.
Have any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you. Dr. Rios will be presenting on, giving us an update on the late start.
Yes, President Lozano and members of the board. Over the last 2 months, I've visited with parents through forums at each individual campus, and I've also visited with teachers about a late start. And after much discussion with a parents, what I shared with them was that we would explore a combination of a late start or a staggered start. In other words, have elementary continue to start at the same time, but have middle school start a little bit later, 15 minutes later, and then possibly high school a little bit later, and combine that with adding additional routes and additional drivers. So rather than have an entire hour of delayed start time, see what routes the transportation department can develop, and how many buses and how many bus drivers it would take to commit to not picking up any elementary student prior to 7 o'clock and deliver them to school at a reasonable hour where they could still have their breakfast and make it to class on time, and then do the same for the middle school and the secondary. But because of the intense route development that will require, we agreed in the discussions that in April, we would reconvene some members from the site-based decision as well as some community members and just review all the data, and at that time make a decision. Again, we're still committed to starting elementary at 8 o'clock, but have a pickup of no earlier than 7 o'clock. We just need to know what that looks like in terms of purchasing additional buses and hiring additional drivers. But I think that because we'll make the decision in April, we'll definitely have enough time to implement everything that we need to do and be able to provide better service to where kids don't ride together, elementary and secondary, and they're not picked up that early. So I feel good about the process and the progress we're making, and we're counting on Mr. Maldonado and Mr. Riojas to deliver those routes to us by April.
Thank you for that update. Any questions, comments? All right, thank you. And next on the agenda, the block schedule update, Dr. Rios will be providing.
Again, on the block schedule, we also, at the same time that we visited about the delayed start, we talked about a block schedule and that what that would mean for students and what it would mean for teachers. And now that we've made all of the presentations, we've launched a survey to our secondary teachers. We just launched it last week. I think the deadline for completion of the survey is this Wednesday. Again, we will analyze the data, the teachers that that have described the situation where block schedule would help, as well as the teachers that think block schedule will not necessarily address the depth and rigor that we want to develop in every lesson. We'll again review that and make a decision as to whether we implement block scheduling this coming year or not. I did commit to the teachers to have a decision by early March. So in the next couple of weeks, we will disaggregate all the data and bring a group of teachers and parents together and make that decision. So block scheduling will be decided in March, and the start times for the secondary students in April. I'm pleased with the feedback that I've received from teachers and community members, and I think that'll definitely shape the decisions that we make.
Thank you for that update. Any comments, questions? Nope. All right.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on this report, I don't have anything to say, but I sure would like to say something on last week's report, if you don't mind, just real quick like.
Last week.
And it was entirely my fault. Last month, Dr. Garza brought up, gave us a report on on Texas academic progress, or performance rather. And before I realized it, I didn't say anything. The agenda went on, and it was entirely my fault, and I just want to say something about it. First, let me congratulate Dr. Rios and his staff. And of course, our principals and teachers that have a whole lot to do with improving that are striving to improve our test scores, and very especially our educational gap on our students. I know we're not where we want to be, but we're striving to it, and we're going to get there, I guarantee you. As you saw tonight and throughout the year, our students have excelled in just about anywhere in the stages, UIL competition, on the football fields, baseball, basketball, etc. But they didn't become the champions that they are there that were just merely recognized. Where they became champions or outstanding students were in the classroom, out of the field with the teachers and the coaches. And I want to emphasize that. This is where those guys have their beginnings. You know, I've often read and heard that if we want to have any significant success in anything that we undertake, we just got to it has to be an obsession. And I think here in our school district, it's become an obsession. And we're going to be doing that. We have our cross country, and I don't want to put Coach Smith here. I think it was an obsession with him to excel every year, and for I don't know how many years he was there. And this is the thing that's where we're going to be going towards it, because the majority of our employees have bought into it. And now we need the community, everybody needs to buy into it. You know, and the reason I'm saying it, and I thought about it, and I don't want to in any way belittle anybody, but I hate to hear any feedback and comments that breed doubt and defeat. And maybe it's the coaching in me, or the coach in me, I would say. I always get excited about new things. I always get excited on doing things about how we want to commit. And I remember when I was coaching, some of the players would say, "Hey, Coach, hold it, we're not." He says, "Well, I get excited. I want you to get excited because it's very catching." And if they didn't see the excitement on me, I needed to be somewhere else. And the thing about it is that we're planning, and I participated last week in a workshop that involved teachers, parents, administrators, students, a couple of board members, and this group went up to set up some goals. And within maybe another week or so, I think I heard Dr. Rios in April, another group will meet and they'll come up with some methods as to how we're going to continue to improve. Again, actually, what I wanted to say, bottom line is thank you. Thank you, people, for getting out there and doing what needs to be done. But we need to join in and at all times strive to find some good in everything we do. And again, thank you, teachers, which you are the ones that are the frontliners and deserve all the credit. And I know that when somebody goes out there and strives for other things, you're going to be making mistakes and people are going to criticize you. And this is why I want to say, Doc, keep it up. If not, how can we improve? We got to change. If we don't, if we continue to do what we've done every year, we're going to continue to have the same results. So again, thank you. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Chavita.
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't mean to regress. Can I ask a couple quick questions on the previous
Yes, sir.
items? The administration made reference to soliciting feedback on the delayed start time and a vote of some sort. Did I hear that correctly? A vote of some sort on the block scheduling?
Not a vote, a survey.
Okay. The soliciting of that feedback from the public and from the staff, how much weight will you give that in formulating a decision about both?
Well, I made it clear to the community that came out to the presentations that that decision was not going to be mine alone, that the committee that we put together of parents and teachers were going to review the data, and that I was going to share it with them, and it was going to be up to them to make that decision. So I think that when the committee reviews it, I think that it is up to them to decide what they value the most, and then we'll reach a decision. But it's not like I'm going to take 50% weight on survey and 50% weight on what we gather. It'll be information that'll inform the process.
And the committee members will be individuals who provided feedback, or where are these committee members coming from?
What I shared with the parents that showed up at the community forum was that I would ask each principal to visit with the parents that showed up and see who wanted to participate. I know that at a couple of forums, there have already been teachers, parents that said, please me. And then I know that, and Patty Brown, I haven't seen the list, but I know that you forwarded me a list as well from participants in the site-based decision team, the DPDM. So those individuals will be there as well, and they'll make the decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rios. On to the consent agenda. As always, we have multiple items under this consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any of the items? Yes, sir.
Three things there. Two of them a question, and one of them I want to pull for a separate.
Okay.
Both there. On C4, RFP 1608, driver's license camera scanner. I have a question on that. And then on F3, purchase of two vehicles from Sampac 5-Star Ford. There, I have a question on that. And then for F7, I wish to pull F7 for a separate vote.
Which one?
F7. If that so pleases the board.
Yes, sir. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to pull
So we're going to pull F7 for a separate vote,
for a separate vote?
correct?
And then we'll have hopefully some questions answered on the other two.
Quick questions on two other items, on C4 and F3.
All right, who can answer Mr. Overfelt's question, which he will ask right now?
I'll answer him, and if I can't, I'll ask individuals.
On C4, the driver's license camera scanner thing, there, where I have it marked here, hold on, sorry.
Yes, sir.
It's, and I'm guessing the one in red is who we're giving the bid to, right, on the sheet, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Keeping track out of Salt Lake City, $8.99 each, and then $179.80 to ship it, there. So that's $1,078.80. And then school check-in out of Tampa, Florida says $7.99 and $80 shipping at $8.79, which is a difference of about $179. So I'm just curious as to why the other one as opposed to the one that's $200 cheaper, that's all.
First of all, on the item, you'll notice that that particular item doesn't have any purchase that follows it in the other items, mainly because Paul Johnson bid this item out because it was time to bid it out. At the current time, all of our schools are equipped with cameras. Should we need to replace one, we need to have the item on the bid list. Mr. Henge and Chief Maldonado will consider a different option to the one we're using right now. But right now, if we had to replace individual cameras for something that broke, we would go with the vendor that we have in place right now. However, in the very near future, the whole system will be revisited to see if we can upgrade to a better system, because there have been complaints as to the data that's provided and how accurate it is. We've had parents come up and say, you know, I'm listed by name only, not by social security or license. I'm listed as a sex offender, and that's just not me. So there's multiple names, but that hasn't been differentiated. So then we have to go through a longer process to verify that somebody with the same name really isn't the sex offender that the list is indicating. So anyway, there's no purchase that goes with it. Right now, should we have to replace something in the current system, that's the original vendor. Were there other reasons as to why we selected, again, that same vendor, Mr. Henge?
Yes, that also falls along the lines of support. We found that in the past, we've gone with the lowest bid, and because we did not buy it directly from the manufacturer, that they would not support the equipment. So we've also made the same changes with our Apple iPads. We're getting those from Apple Education now versus before we bought them from another vendor.
So is keeping track the Snapshell company? Or they're just a distributor of Snapshell?
They're a distributor of Snapshell, but they're actually in the process of replacing the Snapshell scanner with another scanner, which is a lot bigger than what we want. But again, I have a couple schools right now that we may possibly have to replace these while we demo out some other systems that I was checking into over TCEA. So what I don't want to do is have an incident happen because we didn't have our background check stuff in place. So this is protecting us while we make future decisions if we're going to stay with Keep and Track or go with another vendor.
So we're gonna buy 10 of those.
No, at this time, there is no plan to purchase those, but in the event we need to, we don't want to have to wait 30 days to come back to the board to get the approval to make the purchase. We can go ahead and do it based on those quotes there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Your question on
And
F3?
then F3, purchase order for the 2 trucks there. And I know it comes up and we bid it out there, but no one local can beat
Nope.
any of these out-of-town places?
We did, not on the bid process, they didn't. There was 11 sent out and 5 were sent in.
Yeah, I asked that
I'd like
question.
to keep it in Del Rio, but
I asked that question, but they don't even submit it.
Some did, actually. It was Del Rio. Yeah, Ford did.
okay, thank you. I'm ready to approve the other stuff then.
Okay. We will go on ahead and pull the item that Mr. Oberfeld asked us to, which is F7. But for all of the other consent agenda items, do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. All right, then we will take F7 separately. Consideration to approve the purchase order over $25,000 with NCS Pearson in the amount of $164,297 for SchoolNet software and services.
And it's 167 the first time, and then over the next 2 years, we're gonna pay more, and it works out to around 400,000.
She'll give us the exact amount, but it's close to it.
I do have it.
And I believe it said it was coming out of, what was the fund source again?
It's,
IMA?
Yes, instructional materials and lobby.
The total, if we extend it to the 3 years, would be $393,104.
Do we,
Madam Chairman?
go ahead.
When you say if we extend it to 3 years, I thought the contract said contingent on funding,
Right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
so.
If
In other
we-
words, if funds
the
are
money's
available,
there and it's
the district
approved.
is saying that it's buying 3 years, right?
When I spoke to her, we can only commit the district to 1 year. So that was the reason that they resent the contract the way it was stipulated. And then they did say if the funding is there and the district decides to go for the next 2 years, we have that option at this cost. But we are only committing to that 1 year per the contract.
The first year of $168,000.
Yes, sir.
64.
164,297.
But all 3 years total is $400,000.
Yes, sir. 393,104.
What are the savings for eliminating some of the other software, such as the DMAC? Do we know?
I don't have the exact amount, ma'am, at this time, but I do believe that it's somewhere in the $30,000 that we pay every year for DMAC.
And is that the only product that it would replace?
Yes, as far as products, well, the test nav, the test bank that we purchase, that could also be replaced. However, I don't want to commit to, our teachers create so many benchmarks and having different questions available, so I don't know that we'd want to do away with the test item bank, but I think the test item bank isn't that expensive. How much do we pay?
Well, it depends on the actual test that we're creating. We also have something called Star One. We did buy another test curriculum, benchmark curriculum associates that we would not have to buy again, because we will have some release tests that we use for the benchmark itself. On the Star One, I apologize, I do not have the exact figure, but we would probably not have that system in place next year if we have this program, because we will have a pool of questions with this program.
Okay.
I think it's fair to say that we will at least save 30,000 on the
On the DMAC.
on the DMAC, and then the other test item banks, they're expensive, but certainly not as much as we're paying for DMAC.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question of the principals over here?
Absolutely.
You're the board member.
Absolutely. You
It's your
can,
meeting.
Mr. Oberfeld.
Well, yeah, but they're also sitting there in front of their boss, so let's see who answers.
You want to step out while you ask?
No. Yeah, please.
It's all being recorded, so.
Yeah, please.
For the principals who are here and y'all attended the virtual, and then maybe did you attend the actual one where the individual was here? Some yes, some no. Okay. Is it something that you see helping the district over the next several years there, as opposed to going away from something that we have used, quite a while and gotten real good at, and DMAC and Skyward and all of that? And it's something you're ready to throw your full faith and support behind? If anybody wants to answer or just nod, or if anyone wants to say anything, Ms. Flores?
Hello, good evening, everybody. I think so. In attending the virtual, we had the face-to-face here back in the spring for the administrators, and then, of course, last week we had our virtual tour. And for the teachers, it's a CUME folder in a computer, so you can access historical data of what's uploaded. And then in addition to that, it mainstreams everything. DMAC is nice, but DMAC, I felt like it's more for myself, because I can really, I've worked with data over the years where teachers probably need more their curriculum documents and DMAC-like data. I think it's more teacher-friendly than it is. I felt like DMAC was me because I can pull reports and I know what I'm doing there, but sometimes for teachers it was too overwhelming because, like the superintendent from Northside said, you can have all kinds of data, but it's how you use it and what you do with it that matters. And to streamline it all into one website, I think for the teachers it's a lot better. And all the student information. You have student information in DMAC, but it's not as comprehensive as it is in SchoolNet.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One real quick question. So you've actually used DMAC, right?
Yes.
I mean, you've used it.
Yes.
Have you used SchoolNet?
No, I have not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I was able to see 2 of the virtual tours, and then I was also there for the live presentation. And so I think that one thing that I see that's very beneficial with this program is the fact of the formative assessments that it could help our teachers with. I think especially at the high school level, it is difficult to constantly come up with tests and so forth, especially we've been struggling with the writing component, not so much in history. So that's one thing that we saw the benefits of that. But also just having everything together. And I think that would be wonderful because, of course, at the elementary, middle school level, it's different. But by the time they get to high school, there's just so much more data. Having access to all of their assessments in math, in science, and everywhere else. So that's a great benefit that I see as an educator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sally?
Yes, sir.
But you didn't actually use SchoolNet, right?
We couldn't use SchoolNet because the data is not there. Like for you to be able to access all the files, then everything would have to be in there, so you can't use it. So we were able to see different school districts. They had like a dummy district. That's not a nice word to use, but it was a dummy district. And then that you got to see elementary data or also middle school data, but we weren't able to use it. But there's a lot of times, I'll tell you with DMAC, I don't use DMAC. The reports that I use, they're run for me. And I tell people exactly what I want, and that's what I use. Or Dr. Garza runs things for me, or my instructional, or my, I was going to say instructional coach, but my interventionist or my strategist does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sally, how did your teachers feel after the presentations and stuff? Did you get a feedback from them?
The teachers liked it. Not all of our teachers were able to see it that first time, but a lot of them were, and so they did like it. But on the same token, too, when we had the virtual, not everybody was there also. And so, again, it's different for secondary. Being a former elementary teacher, being also a middle school administrator, we use our CUME folders a lot more than a secondary teacher or a high school teacher does. The cumulative folder that has everything in there since they started public school. So again, just seeing that was exciting for them, because then you can build your lessons around that to see what the weaknesses of that child or those children are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a random question. There, on we talked about the assessment, maybe I missed it. There, where it talks about creating the tests and create with express tests there, and being able to load standardized tests into it. Does that mean released versions of the STAR can be uploaded into it? And the reason I ask that is here on my laptop, and maybe it was through a cloud update, I've got a program called STAR Online, and is STAR Online testing program in there that I guess is that. What is that?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking at, but what we do here for benchmark, sir, is that we actually buy the booklets, the release test booklets, so that it can seem like we are actually taking the test. And all we do is upload the information to DMAC. In this instance, we would load the information to SchoolNet, and it would be the same process. So it's not any different. Now, when we create actually assessments for 6 weeks.
This one right here. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that is we push that out because that is something that the school is going to use to practice for the STAR test that we have coming.
But I think that the specific question, I'm sure that Sandy can answer it. Sandy, Dr. Mendoza, any test that's online, any release test that may be online or sample questions, the presentation indicated that we could use any type of assessments on there. So do we load those question by question as we create our own tests, or are we able to upload entire assessments?
Both ways, depending on how we're licensed. So it just depends on how we buy it. If we buy, there's third-party vendors that will sell databases that we could license, and then we can purchase full assessments, kind of similar to our benchmarks. But going back to what you asked earlier about express tests, the way that express test differs from that or an online release test or anything like that is that if I am teaching TEKS 4.2, 4.2, 3, and 4, then I can indicate that, and not only does it help me create a lesson, but I can also have it create a formative assessment so that I'm able to test my students. And I think one of the things that's really important to note is that as a teacher, if I'm only limited to the files that I've collected through the years, through my file folders, I may or may not be able to assess my kids at the right level of rigor, and that's where we've started seeing a lot of kids fall through the cracks, because the state assessment is telling us that kids need to be able to figure area of a figure in a multi-step way, and maybe my files keep it limited to just length times width. And so just being able to create a formative that's at the right level of rigor is powerful, and we can do that through the express test.
Thank you.
Ready for the recommendation, please?
Yes, I do. Sorry. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the payment of the purchase order over $25,000 to NCS Pearson in the amount of $164,297.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Let me just add one thing
Yes,
before
sir.
we go on to the voting. I am familiar with the program because my daughter teaches in San Antonio at the Northside District. And last week when I was talking to her, to Ms. Gomez, I went ahead and asked her. Super.
Thank you. All in favor? 3 opposed? 2? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 10, let me back up. We forgot to have Ms. Haynes acknowledge the name of those that have made donations to the district. Ms. Haynes?
Board of Federal Credit Union, $100, Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Robotics. Box Tops for Education, $251.70 to Dr. Fenmin Calderon Elementary, and also to $123.70 to Ruben Chavita Elementary. Castle Bounce, $125 to Del Rio High School Metal Trades. Chick-fil-A, Del Rio, $342.70 to Del Rio High School Junior Class. $329.79 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. $147.91 to Ruben Chavita Elementary. Herman, Everett, and Deanna Castillo, $100 to Del Rio High School CTE Education. Live Touch National School Studios, $1,261.11 to Del Rio Middle School. $61.25 to Del Rio Middle School. $1,707.03 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. $1,115.85 to Garfield Elementary. R.F. Owens Partnership Ltd., $100 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Robotics. Jose E. Salazar, $100 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Robotics. Sadea France and Company, Incorporated, $210 Del Rio High School CTE Education. The Bank and Trust, $150 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Robotics. The Spot and Pro Shop, $300 to Buena Vista Elementary Student Council. $342 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, $123 to Ruben Chavita Elementary, and $51 to Ruben Chavita Elementary. Thank you for your donations.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Going on,
So before we go on, I'd just say the principals and CNI staff, there's nothing left on the agenda for y'all. You're welcome to stay, but I understand that because we did closed session first, so please feel free to go take care of your families. Dr. Bettis, congratulations, sir.
congratulations. Okay,
You don't have to go.
you said they could. Okay. Let's go on to 10, Administration. A, consideration to approve a joint election agreement with the City of Del Rio. Ms. Yanakani Valdez.
Good evening, Ms. Lozano, Dr. Rios, board members. The Education Code requires an election for trustees of an independent school district shall be held on the same date as the election of the members of the governing body of a municipality located in the school district. The joint election agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and the City of Del Rio identifies a joint early voting location as the Del Rio Civic Center and shared voting locations for Election Day that include the Del Rio Civic Center, San Felipe Memorial Middle School Cafeteria, and the Del Rio Municipal Building. The joint election agreement also identifies that that we will have individual elections and would be responsible for our own elections. Are there any questions?
Mr. Overfeld.
How many times has the city and the school district done early voting together at a common place in the history of?
I can only share the history of the election information that I have, and we have not had a shared location for early voting. The school district had early voting here at the school board room.
Would it have been the same price that we were getting charged if we had had it here, as opposed to holding it jointly with what the county was going to charge us for doing early voting?
The city would not charge us a fee for using the Civic Center, so the fee would be the same because we would have our own election officials, our own election administrator. We would rent our own machines, so the fee would be the same.
So it would have been the same if we had held it separately. We could have held it here. Or it's the same amount to hold it jointly at the Civic Center.
Yes, sir. This is entirely a benefit to the voters so that they don't have to go to two different places to vote for early election. They obviously don't go to two separate places during in this case, the May 7th election, but for those that choose to early vote, they won't have to go to two separate locations. It's just the benefit to the voters and nobody else.
Is the hospital board getting in on this?
The last meeting that we had, the conversation was there, but I don't know what the final decisions are.
Any other questions?
Madam
Comments?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, because now Mr. Overfeld's confused me a little bit. Everything is staying the same. We're just simply taking the early voting from here, and it's going to the Civic Center, right? As far as the procedures that we follow, as far as the votes and the ballots and all that for the school district election, it's the same. That's the way I understand the resolution, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct. We are responsible for our election. We're simply sharing a location, and we will follow the same processes that are in the legal processes where we will have our own election administrators. So if you envision early voting, you would walk into the site at the Civic Center, and there would be some tables, just like on Election Day for the city, some tables for the school district. And as I mentioned, we talked about where we would place the hospital. I just don't know if they made a final decision. But again, it would be a replica of how the Election Day would look, where we're at the same polling location. We all would have our own election area.
And of course, it's for the 3 slots that are open, plus the one that we have agreed to, again, will be elected, and that's Dr. Key's, what is that, place 1?
Place 1.
So all of that takes place.
Yes, sir,
there.
because all of those are for
Right.
our election, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Recommendation, please.
yes. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the attached joint election agreement with the City of Del Rio in compliance with the Texas Education Code 11.0581.
We've heard, let me ask a question before I do this. I'm sorry. Did we get a copy of the new joint election? Because did we, is that the one we received from?
That's the order of election?
But not the resolution.
Well, this is the resolution from the City of Del Rio.
The joint election.
There was no change to the joint election agreement.
Okay.
Well, but if you look at the attachment, joint election agreement between us and the city, it does omit place one. So how do we ensure that we include that?
If you turn to, I think it's the third page of your attachments, this is what we're agreeing to in this resolution, which is the separate elections, separate ballots, and the locations. The information that's on the first page of the resolution is like informational, which is the information that they had at that time. I can contact the city and ask them if they can update the resolution to include place one. But at the time, they placed it on their agenda last week. They approved it at last week's meeting. So at that time, I could share with them the positions that we're having a regular election for.
If it pleases the board, Ms. Valdez can reread the recommendation to say to include place one.
Okay, thank you.
I think that would
I think
cover
that'll
it.
suffice.
That'd be clear if there does need to be some sort of revision, right? It's merely a typographical one, I guess. I mean, we're clearly stating that, yes, including place one.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is I'm so sorry.
She read it. She read the recommendation before.
She can reread the recommendation.
Is
We
there one
didn't
I
make a motion.
Okay. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the attached joint election agreement with the City of Del Rio in compliance with the Texas Education Code 11.0581, and to also include place one, which will be our special election.
Thank you. We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? I so move. Second by Mr. Garabedian. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. B, consideration to approve the order of election for the regular election to be held on May 7th. Ms. Yanakani Valdez.
Thank you. The regular election that will be held on May 7th will include the positions that were up for, which is place 2, place 6, and place 7. The order of election, the deadline to present this order is this Friday. So it will require the signature of all the board members that are approving. So I do ask if everybody could sign the form tonight. That way we can get it to them by Friday. Or tomorrow, but, just to make sure by Friday.
All right. Recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the order of election.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Overfelt first, second by Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration to approve the first reading of Policy Update 103, affecting the policies that will be mentioned by Ms. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent, members of the board. This evening, I will be presenting the first reading of Policy Update 103. You have an updated copy that was presented to you this evening. One of the policies will not be presented this evening, and the reason for that is that TASB did not send us a draft before or on time so that the board committee meeting would be reviewed. And so we are going to omit that policy. That policy would be FFA local. So this evening, Update 103 addresses recent changes to the Texas Administrative Code. The policies that are included in this presentation. Update addressed several topics such as revised federal regulations governing all grants and awards, and this is as a result of the new EDGAR. Inclusion of the district policy of a grace period for payment of meals, and the inclusion of a policy that addresses House Bill 910, the open carry of firearms.
So as a result of the update, there were 92 legal policy additions, revisions, or deletions. Our policy committee reviewed 12 of the local policy additions, revisions, and deletions that were recommended by TASB. They are as follows: VF Local, Board Policies; CAA Local, Fiscal Management Goals and Objectives, Financial Ethics; CB Local, State and Federal Revenue Sources; CKE Local, Safety Program Risk Management, Security Personnel; CO Local, Food Service Management; DBD Local, Employment Requirements and Restrictions, Conflict of Interest; DH Local, Employee Standards of Conduct; DIA Local, Employee Welfare, Freedom from Discriminatory Harassment and Retaliation; FEA Local, Attendance, Compulsory Attendance; FEC Local, which is attendance for credit; GKA Local, Community Relations, Conduct on School Premises; and GRA Local, Relations with Governmental Entities, State and Local Governmental Authorities. Are there any questions this time?
Any questions? The recommendation, Ms. Hernandez?
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of policies FB Local, CAA Local, CB Local, CKE Local, CO Local, DBD Local, DH Local, DIA Local, FEA Local, FEC Local, GKA Local, and GRA Local, and implement the additions, revisions, or deletions of language in these policies as recommended in the TASB Policy Service Update 103 and by the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board Policy Review Committee as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me. All right, consideration to approve the first reading of localized policy, CW Local. Ms. Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am. Last month, the Board Policy Committee met in January, but our Board Policy Committee reconvened on Wednesday, February the 3rd, to review a revision and change to the draft presented during the regular school board meeting last month. The new draft and exhibit was written to support the following recommendations: that the board will have complete authority and responsibility for the permanent naming of facilities. Guidelines for the naming of facilities shall be based on the following considerations: the consideration to name elementary schools after the area or subdivision in which they are located, or after individuals who have made significant contributions to the educational program of the district or community. Consideration to name middle schools after prominent Texas leaders or those who have made statewide contributions to education, or individuals who have made significant contributions to the educational program of the district or community. Consideration to name high schools after noted Texas governors, Texas House of Representatives, and Texas senators. 8th grade students who will be the first graduates of this high school would provide the nomination. And consideration to name other district facilities after individuals who have made significant contributions to the educational program of the district or community.
The recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of CW Local and implement the revisions to the language in this policy as recommended by the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board Policy Review Committee.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavita. Any questions, concerns? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Curriculum and instruction, we have A, consideration to approve the request for a letter of commitment to partner with Southwest Texas Junior College for the TRIO, T-R-I-O, Educational Talent Search Grant Program. Dr. Jorge Garza.
Madam Chairman, Dr. Rios, members of the board, Southwest Texas Junior College has approached us to see if we will take a commitment to be part of this grant that they're submitting to be part of this TRIO grant. This TRIO grant, we've had it before here at the high school. It is a very successful program. The intent here is to get disadvantaged students to enroll or be participants to college readiness. So I think it's a very important part. It is just a approval by the board that we would be committed to be part of this program.
Any questions? A recommendation, please, sir.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves for the superintendent to sign the letter of commitment to partner with Southwest Texas Junior College for the TRIO Educational Talent Search Grant Program.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Garabedian, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Garza. Consideration to offer out of adoption textbooks to the community and approve Follett to pick up remaining textbooks and dispose of them at no cost to the district. Dr. Garza.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, we've come to that time of the year that we need to clear our warehouse from these textbooks that we have, 23 pallets. This time we are going to offer them to the community for them to come view them, and if there's any of them that they want to pick up, they can pick up themselves. And whatever's left, we will ship them to Africa, or not us, Follett, at no cost to us.
Okay. Sounds. Yes, sir.
When we notify, will we notify other educational institutions by phone, or are we going to run it in the paper?
We're going to run it in the paper, sir. We're going to run it in the paper, and it's going to be a deadline of about 10 days that we'll have out there. And we will communicate with the private schools to make sure that they know that they're out there. We've got.
Can we put it on our social media as well?
Of course. Yes, sir.
Okay. A recommendation, please, sir.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees gives permission to offer out of adoption textbooks to the community and approves Follett to dispose of the remaining out of adoption textbooks.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? I so move. Second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? 4. And Mr. Chavita stepped out, so motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Facilities and operations, consideration to approve the resolution for the sale of 5.46 acres, being all of Lot 4 of the Del Rio Middle School subdivision as recorded in slide 322-B of the map records of Valverde County, Texas, located off of Japlow Drive. Mr. Carrera.
Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board, during the process of getting all the documents ready for the resolution, we found that there was an error in the appraisal district. They had identified what we had brought earlier as 7.73 acres, and actually the property that we want to sell is 5.46 acres.
And the initial was
7.73 according to the appraisal district. They had 2 lots at the same acreage.
They had 2 separate lots with the same number and the same acreage, but clearly one's a narrow strip of land, which is the one that we want to sell, and the other one is right off of Highway 90, that's not the one we're selling. So the only purpose of bringing it back is to clearly identify your approval for the appropriate lot that we're selling.
Okay. I do have a question on the memo on number 3. It says that the board president or designee, however, the board resolution says the superintendent is authorized, so,
You're delegating to me the.
okay.
You don't have
Okay, so that's clarified. Recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution of the sale of 5.46 acres, being all of Lot 4 of the Del Rio Middle School subdivision as recorded in slide 322-B of map records of Valverde County, Texas, located off of Japelo Drive at a price not less than market value.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, going on to 14, we already addressed 13. Human Resources and Student Services A, consideration to approve the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning refrigeration technology, HVAC, teacher position. Dr. McNamara.
All right. President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. Mr. Roger Gonzalez, our Director of CTE, is recommending for your consideration this evening a new position. It is within the trades and industry component. We are requesting permission for your approval tonight for this position so that we can post it immediately, but our intentions are to hire the individual for the beginning of the 16-17 school year. It is on a teacher placement scale, 187 days. The funding source is through the CTE funding, which is 172, and the justification is to expand the trades and industry construction cluster and also to provide technical dual credit with our partnership with Southwest Texas Junior College. And Mr. Gonzalez is here to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Overfelt has a question.
All right.
On this new position there, because it's something we currently don't have at the high school, correct? Well, it's not a program we've had in place, so it's going to be something brand new, right?
Mr. Overfield, that is correct.
Okay. And where is this new program going to be housed?
That is to be determined. We want to offer it either here at the high school or possibly at the new CT Center.
Okay. And my follow-up to that is, since it's to be determined, you have given the high school as a choice there, in looking at everything, we're kind of familiar with the layout of the building there. You know, everything's pretty much taken at the new CTE building there. So if for some reason it's decided that we're going to put it out at the new CTE center, what are we going to, how's that going to go about, since everything's pretty much spoken for out there, since this wasn't something that was really kind of, I guess, planned on when we drew up the building?
Correct. We know that having an HVAC system will add to the services that we offer. And I don't think that we're ready to tell you it's going to be at the high school. I personally don't think that our first choice will be at the CT Center, because we're going to be moving into it and expanding that. But I think that when we get to that point, if we get to a point where we consider moving, then that would be a whole other discussion. So we're not ready to make that decision. If you ask me right now, I'll tell you it'll be at the high school, because we haven't appropriately planned for it at the new CT school. But again, we're not ready to have that discussion yet. And when we will, I'll definitely share everything with y'all. If you want me to decide right now, it's going to be at the high school.
No, I was just curious, because I'd hate to see a brand new facility and then all of a sudden we have to start putting stuff in there that we never originally planned for, and you know, that wasn't the design or the reason for that building being built there.
Right.
So. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
But,
Mr. Garabedian.
this position would also be for college level certificates, right? I mean, that would be a possible career
This is
path.
a possible one-year certificate.
So as far as a site, I mean, that also, I think, since it's like a lab site, that might actually be determined in part by what the college can justify. I'm not sure. Without muddying the water, it might be a little premature to know exactly where it's going. So it's going somewhere, right? Obviously. Okay.
The good news is that we will have space for it.
Yes.
A lot of it.
Well, if it stayed at the high school, right? I
Yes.
mean, it would. It'd be like,
Yes.
Vacating that whole wing, yeah.
okay, so we'll see.
A recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration, technology teacher position be approved as presented this evening.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is consideration to approve the transportation coordinator position, the job classification, evaluation forms, and the revised administrative job classification listing. Dr. McNamara?
Yes, ma'am. For the transportation coordinator position, we have identified through Ms. Valdez a vacancy, which is vacancy 94, an elementary teaching position, to use in the conversion of this particular position. We did contact TASB. We did send them the job description evaluation form for their review, and they recommended placement at a 4A administrative pay scale at 226 days. And Ms. Valdez has identified the funding source as 199 for this particular position, so we are asking for your support this evening on that particular position with the job description evaluation forms and the job classification listing.
Any questions? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the transportation coordinator position, the job description evaluation forms, and the revised administrative classification listing be approved as presented this evening.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavita. All in favor? 4. Opposed? 1. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, consideration to approve the web content management technician position, the job description, evaluation forms, and the revised paraprofessional job classification listing. Dr. McNamara.
Yes, ma'am. This evening, the administration is asking for your approval in converting a position that is currently a computer technician position, converting it to the web content management technician. It would be a pay grade 6 on the paraprofessional schedule. We did contact TASB about that placement as well on 226 days in general fund, which is 199.
Is the computer technician, what was that pay grade?
It was a
Same?
pay grade 6.
Is the same?
So it's the same. Yes, ma'am.
All we're doing, Madam President, is we use computer technicians right now to assist with different CNI projects. And all we're doing is taking a computer technician and dedicating them to CNI so that this position was brought in anticipation of y'all's approval for the SchoolNet. There'll be when they're not doing technical work, they will be uploading all those documents that the teachers won't have to upload. So there's already a lot of work to do at CNI, but we also wanted to be ready for SchoolNet.
Okay. I just have one additional question. It has to do with the attachment that the paraprofessional job classification highlighted on that page is obviously the item we're discussing, which is the web content management technician. But also what's highlighted is the clerk budget.
Yes, that's going to come in a next agenda item.
Oh,
It just happened to have one form. I think it's on the next one, or a couple down.
Oh, it's F. Okay.
It's F.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the web content management technician position, the corresponding job description evaluation forms and the revised paraprofessional classification listing be approved as presented this evening.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by myself. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now, consideration to approve the bus monitor positions, the job description, evaluation forms, revised auxiliary job classification listing, and placement scale. Dr. McNamara?
Yes, ma'am. Currently at Cardwell Elementary, we have 13 bus monitor temp positions, and we are requesting your approval this evening to make those, to actually convert those temp positions to permanent positions. They would be on a pay grade 1 on the auxiliary placement scale, 189 days for 6 hours. And then you'll notice on the agenda there that we split the funding. Ms. Valdez has given me the funding codes of 205, 211, which are federal funds, for 4 hours, and 2 hours would correspond to 199. So they would service Cardwell for 4 hours, and then the other 2 hours would be under the direction of the Director of Transportation. And we've also attached the job descriptions for your review and the auxiliary classification.
Any
Posting.
questions? I do want to thank the administration and HR and everybody for looking at these
Yes.
bus monitor positions. Thank you for that.
And they did approve the individual bus monitors met with us, and they did review and approve their job descriptions.
Oh, great, good. Recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that the bus monitor positions, the job description evaluation forms, the revised auxiliary classification listing, and placement scale be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garabedian. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Consideration to approve the employee job description and evaluation forms for the following departments: the superintendent's cabinet, the chief financial officer, the chief operations officer, the chief instructional officer secondary, chief instructional officer elementary, chief human resources and instructional support officer. Dr. McNamara.
Yes, ma'am. Under a separate cover, administration provided each of you with those job descriptions that have been reviewed by the cabinet members and by Dr. Rios for your consideration this evening. And this is just, by the way, going in line with our practice of bringing a department or two each month for your consideration.
Okay. Any questions? The recommendation, please, ma'am.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the employee job description evaluation forms be approved as presented this evening.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Any discussion? All in favor? 4 against, 1. Motion carries. Thank you. F is consideration to approve the revised paraprofessional job classification listing to include budget clerk and assessment and accountability secretary. Dr. McNamara.
Yes, ma'am. In review of the paraprofessional, well, from the TASB study in December for the mid-year salary adjustments, this particular job classification was missing 2 of the appropriate titles that have always been there. They were just missing on the job classification listing, so we wanted to make it right and correct that oversight. And that's to include the budget clerk and the assessment accountability secretary. They were just inadvertently left off and are not included on the one that you approved in December. So we have added them now, and we've highlighted them. You'll also see the web content. That's one you just approved. So this one has all 3 of them.
Any questions? The recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the revised paraprofessional classification listing be approved as presented.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now, the consideration to approve the revised auxiliary placement scale to include lane 226-5-8.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably didn't say that right.
You did.
Dr. McNamara.
Yes, ma'am. Again, as part of those placement scales that were approved in December, some of our employees were converted from a paraprofessional position to auxiliary, i.e. the route coordinators, and so therefore that lane was inadvertently left off, which is 226-5-8, and we're asking for your approval this evening to make that correction.
Recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the revised auxiliary placement scale be approved as presented.
You have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Tavita, second by myself. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Last agenda item, consideration to approve the revised auxiliary job classification listing. Dr. McNamara.
And that one we're withdrawing at this time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Withdrawing.
We didn't have to put it on there after review. What we were trying to get was already addressed.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we have one final agenda item, and that is, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. First by Mr. Oberfeld, second by Ms. Haynes, and third by everybody. All in favor? Unanimous? Good night. Thank you very much.